And
All right, well, here we are again. That last, you can tell by the way we started up, that last exit was fraudulent. I didn't go anywhere. And, we just kind of. But here we are. Now, we've talked about the first three dispensations: innocence, conscience, government. And the fourth dispensation, now we've got something really quite different going on. This fourth one is called the dispensation of the patriarchs. God has concentrated his attention now on one man, and basically, there's more to it than that though. The descendant, the very famous, well-known, an important descendant of this one man, a man that we know as Jesus of Nazareth, who is the Christ. From this man Abram, whose name is changed later to Abraham, from this man Abram, we're going to get a son called Isaac. And Isaac is going to get, and another son called Ishmael. One son, the son of promise, the other son, the son of the flesh. The flesh hates the spirit, and the spirit the flesh, and they are at war with one another. But out of this son of promise, Isaac, we are going to get two sons, Jacob and Esau. And out of Jacob, we're going to get the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. And out of one of those tribes, Judah, we're going to get King David. And out of King David, we are going to get Messiah, the Christ of God, who will in fact die for the sins of the world and open up the gates of heaven to men in ways that they have never been opened before. Now, Abram, the line of Abram is, if you want to look at it, it's kind of interesting. It takes about the first 12 chapters of Genesis to get up to Abram. By then, we've been through three dispensations, and, about 2,000 or 3,000 years probably. But now we've got a new dispensation, and from there to the very end of the Bible, we're going to be looking one way or another at this man Abram and his illustrious son, Jesus Christ. One way or the other, clear to the end. And this fourth dispensation is called the dispensation of the patriarchs. And it will end at Mount Sinai with the children of Israel going off into idolatry of the worst kind after they've been taken out of Egypt and redeemed out of Egypt. And at Mount Sinai, we are going to get another dispensation coming in, and it's the dispensation of the law, the legal dispensation, and this is dispensation 5. Now, what do we have now? God, once again, it's kind of like the dispensation of conscience in a way. Just tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. God says, okay. He gives the 10 Commandments and a lot more than that. Now, people out here in this world today, the confusion is lying in heaps and piles. There's just confusion all around. Every time you talk to someone out here, many of them anyway, about right and wrong, good and bad. How do you plan to get to heaven? Well, I'm keeping the 10 Commandments. Oh, no, you're not. No one is keeping the 10 Commandments. And if you want to, but even if you say you are, what about the rest of the law? Paul didn't say keep the 10 Commandments. Paul wrote and said, you want to be circumcised to be, you Gentiles? Is that what you want to do? And be like the Jews? You're a debtor to keep the whole law. Then what does the law say? Cursed is everyone that continueth not in everything that is in this law to do it. That is a part of the law. It's in the book of Deuteronomy, and it doesn't say, you know, well, God will just take, if he can't get you to do everything right, he'll take 50 cents on the dollar. You know, you do the best you can. He'll shovel the rest under the carpet somehow. That's not what it says. That is not what the book says, and there is no one out there who is keeping the law or who has ever kept it. And of course, where does the dispensation, the legal dispensation end? It ends really with the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. I mean, finally, here are guys who say they're looking for the Messiah. He comes in, and what do?
They failed.
They cannot wait to get rid of him. They can't wait to hustle him out to Calvary and crucify him and murder him because they don't like what he says. He's not, you know, stroking them in the proper way. So here we have the law ending, and with the ending of the law, with the death, burial, resurrection, and specifically when Jesus Christ ascends back to heaven and sends the Holy Spirit to indwell the believers, we get a new gospel, the gospel of grace, and we get a new dispensation, and it's the one that we are living in right now. It is the sixth dispensation, or the dispensation of grace. Now, the sixth dispensation, the dispensation of grace, is rapidly running out. We don't know how long it will last. Paul says until the fullness of the Gentiles is come in. But we know this, it will end not in, you know, marching to Zion and, you know, drinking from the grail. It will end in judgment, in utter and absolute judgment.
Antichrist.
The Antichrist, yes. And of course the 7-year tribulation period and the utter destruction of everything. And incidentally, I mean, if you can look at the world as it's unfolding all around you right now, and you think that we're, you know, getting better in every way, as our president has declared, better pray for him, it is not getting better. It's getting worse and worse and worse. And this dispensation of grace, now think about it. Think about it. Chris and I, between these little sessions, were discussing the dispensations. Every dispensation ends in failure, the failure of man, and in judgment. God, what is God doing anyway? He is trying humans under every possible condition to see how they will perform. He is not trying this to see for himself how they will perform.
He's showing us.
He knows how they will perform. He is showing us.
And the angels.
Now think about it. Once again, dispensation of innocence. Absolute perfect environment. It's not too hot, it's not too cold. The bugs don't get you. The mosquitoes don't bite you. I mean, you got plenty to eat. Everything's fine. Everything's great. Failure. People say, tell us what you want us to do and we'll do it. Conscience. Failure. Right on over into government. I'll give you some rules here and we'll establish human government. Failure. Then right on into the patriarchs. Yes, the patriarchs are called, and we do in fact get the one who will give birth to the Christ. But how does it end? Failure at Mount Sinai.
Golden calf.
Yep, the golden calf. Right on over into the dispensation of law. How does it end? Failure. Do people get any better by keeping all of this law? No, because they don't keep it. And anyone who thinks, well, you know, the Sermon on the Mount, they'll throw that one at you a lot. Well, the Sermon on the Mount, I keep the Sermon on. No, they don't. They have not and they will not. Failure. And finally, over into the dispensation of grace. Now, the one we're living in right now. Boy, this is something. God says, you want to be saved, you want to go to heaven, all I'm asking you to do is to believe the gospel and be saved. This is Paul's gospel. Christ died for our sins according to the Scriptures. He was buried. He rose again the third day according to the Scriptures. And he ascended into heaven and sits at the right hand of God the Father Almighty. Oh, but there's got to be something more to it than that. Paul doesn't say so. Paul says that's it. Plus and minus nothing. You believe the gospel. Now you would think that'd be a piece of cake, wouldn't you? Wrong. It's ending in failure because people will not accept it. They do not believe it. They start adding things to it. Well, what does Paul say in Galatians about adding things to his gospel? If anyone brings any gospel to you other than the one I brought, let him be anathema, accursed of God. I don't care, he says, if it's an angel from heaven. So what we're doing now, this dispensation is running out, and it's ending in failure. Why is God doing this? I really believe, I don't know what anyone else would, but I really believe that when all is said and done, when the last bell has rung, when all the chips are called in, I don't think, and judgment falls, and you will have a lot of people, massive numbers of people in hell. And hell is a place, and people are going there. And how stupid is it to go there if you don't have to, if it can be avoided by believing the gospel. But when all is said and done, I don't believe there will be one voice raised against God. I don't care who it is. Out of the depths of hell, I don't think there'll be anyone saying, well, I got a raw deal. I got a raw deal. God has judged people under every possible condition, and they have failed and failed and failed and failed in every one of them. God, well, you didn't tell me what you wanted me to do. Oh, didn't I? Well, yeah, you made things too tough. Did I? Every possible condition. And this is what dispensationalism is about, and this is what this whole thing is about. God will be justified and vindicated.
And this proves all this to the angels as well as us.
It is, and in fact, who is the real angel that's the rebel? Satan. How about Satan? Yeah, you won. You're bigger than I am. Oh, really? Really? Is that how I won? Every opportunity out there, I was, everything I did was, was really gracious. Now, once again, let's look at this whole system as it spreads out now. The seventh and final dispensation will be the millennial kingdom, the so-called 1,000-year reign of Messiah. Physically, he will come back. He will be seated on the throne of his father David in Jerusalem, and he will rule and reign with a rod of iron. Now, all of the prophets, Isaiah, men will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn of war anymore. Of course, that's chiseled in stone in front of the UN building, and they think that they can, all we got to do is get together and show that we love one another, and we'll bring it in. No, that will be brought in during the millennial reign of Jesus Christ. 1,000 years, think of it, 1,000 years of peace, 1,000 years of absolute justice. People will not be doing evil, because they'll be found out immediately, and they will be dealt with. And there will be plenty. People will have plenty. They will have food. They will have clothing, so forth and so forth. How does the seventh and final dispensation end? You can read it in Revelation. During that 1,000 years, the book says that Satan will be bound in a chain and thrown into the abyss. He will not be around to deceive the nations or people. But at the end of that, he will be loose for a little season, and what will he do? He will go out and immediately raise an army. And where is he getting these soldiers for his army? From people. People who have lived in the millennial kingdom. you would think that that would do it for them. Yeah, it does it for them. They're right back into rebellion, and of course that one ends in the lake of fire, and that one ends with the righteous going into the eternal state and the new heaven and the new earth and the new Jerusalem. And how are we doing on time, Chris?
We're ready. That's 15.
You do what?
We're ready
That's
to wrap
15.
whenever you are.
Okay, wrap it.
All right.
Now what are we doing?